Hello again and welcome to another edition of Shed Talk. Thanks for all the support you've shown over the last few videos, all the comments and the likes, most appreciated, and particularly those of you who have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do just click the subscribe button, and if you want early notifications of when I upload any future videos, don't forget you can do this by just hitting the bell. I do read all of the comments, and in one of the comments of a previous video someone suggested that I do a video on my soft food that I use in the shed, so that's what I'm going to do in this video. If you have any other things that you'd like particularly to see in any future videos, anything at all, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. I do take notice of them, and as always, if I can produce a video on anything that you might like, then just let me know and I will do that. So in this video, as I say, we're going to cover soft food. Well, before I show you my soft food, or the soft food that I am currently using, what I thought I'd do is just talk a little bit about why we feed soft food. I mean, because the budgerigar, after all, is primarily a seed eater, and indeed, if you're keeping a pet budgerigar in a cage, it will survive adequately in most cases on a very good seed diet. So the fact that we feed soft food when we're breeding budgerigars, or in terms of the exhibition side in aviaries, and indeed if we're keeping a pet budgerigar we may also want to feed soft food, means we need to understand why we're feeding that, I suppose, given that the budgerigar is primarily a seed eater. And like I say, those of you that are watching this video who just keep a pet budgerigar, if it doesn't eat, if you're feeding it, if you're trying to give it greens or vegetables and they're not eating them, I wouldn't get overly angst about that, because as I say, primarily a seed eating parakeet is what the budgerigar is. So we've said that it's mainly a seed eater. This means that actually, in terms of their vast majority of the budgerigar's diet, including those of us that are breeding, should remain seed. We shouldn't be overfeeding them a soft food mix, so that becomes the majority of what they're eating. They should still continue to have the majority of their food, at least 2/3 of their food should remain seed. So you need to be feeding them small amounts of soft food, so that they're not just picking up that, so they're actually concentrating on eating the seed and also feeding that seed to the youngsters. So why then do we feed budgerigar soft food if primarily they're a seed eating bird? Well, there are a number of reasons, and I'll just go through some of those. I'm sure there are as many reasons as there are breeders out there in terms of the soft food feeding, but I'll just go through some of the reasons why I personally want to feed soft food. The first one of those is to give them some variety in their diet. We all wouldn't want to just continue eating the same meal every day, whether that be nutritious for us or not. We like to have some variety, and I suppose the soft food gives them a little bit of variety from the main seed diet that they're getting. The other reason, particularly when they're feeding youngsters, is it gives them some extra moisture in the diet. So we're always going to be giving the budgerigars fresh water every day anyway, and if you're breeding budgerigars you'll notice that they drink more water when they're feeding the youngsters, and that's particularly just because it aids them regurgitating the food for the chicks. The seed's quite dry, they need some moisture, so they'll add additional water to their diet, and the soft food adds to that moisture and means that they can be feeding soft food to the chicks as well as the seed and the rest of the crop milk that the hen initially produces. So it adds a bit more moisture to their diet, and you'll see when I show you my soft food, it is a moist soft food. It's not a dry soft food that I particularly feed. And the final reason, I suppose, and probably the most important reason from my point of view, is that it enables us to get supplements into their diet in an easy way and a controlled way that they don't get from their seed. And we know that the budgerigars will, particularly those that are bred in indoors in a shed indoors, like I breed in my shed. It's an indoor environment. They lack some vitamins, or they fail to produce some vitamins, and also the amount of protein and calcium that the birds will need when they're breeding to produce the eggs and to feed the youngsters. So they might not get that from a seed diet alone. So we need to add some supplements into the diet. And the controlled way of doing that, I think, is in the soft food. Lots of people will add calcium and other supplements to the water. Indeed, I add a general supplement to my water, but you don't know whether the birds are actually, or how much of that they're actually drinking. And also, I find that feeding supplements through the water is a bit of a waste, because you're changing the water every day, so you're throwing away, you know, at least half of what you're putting in there, and you're never sure exactly how much the birds are taking in. So by placing it into the soft food, you can ensure they're getting the right quantities that go into the soft food, and you can monitor how much of the soft food they're eating by what's left, and you can cut down or increase if you think that they're not eating all of it, or where they are feeding more and more youngsters, so you can add a bit more in those. Clearly you don't want to keep adding it so that it becomes a majority of their diet, as I said earlier. So those are the reasons why I personally feed the soft food to the budgies. So let's start by looking at the ingredients that go into my soft food, and to begin with we'll look at the base for it, I suppose the two main ingredients that I use. The first of these is an egg food mix, and I use Deli Nature, only because it's just one that I've picked up I think once at Stafford and have used it ever since. So that's the egg food that I use. I suppose any of the proprietary egg foods that are available would be equally as suitable. This one I think has got bits of shrimp and crustaceans in it, just to add a little bit more protein, I think, to the overall ingredient. But this is I suppose one of the main base ingredients for my soft food mix. I put 2 medium scoops in of this, and you'll see that so it's not really weighted or measured, so you can see the type of scoop that I'm using. It's just one of the seed dishes out of one of the cages that I've got, so that I don't use as a normal seed dish. So that's what I use. I use 2 of those scoops as the starter, and that goes into my blender. And I'll let you know why I put it in the blender in just a second. So 2 scoops of Deli Nature egg food. The next ingredient is I use frozen sweet corn. Now I use sweet corn as a base. I use half a pint, as you can see here, and that goes into the blender with the egg food mix. The birds love the sweet corn. They always have done. I've used sweet corn in my shed for as long as I can remember. So almost from the moment I started keeping birds again, I started to use sweet corn in it. It's the first bit. If you look at them when they pick through the soft food, it's the one bit that they will pick at. And that's why I blend it with the other mixes. Otherwise there's large pieces of sweet corn in the mix, and they'll just pick those out and won't really pay me much attention to the rest of it. So I find that if I put it in still frozen into the blender with the Deli Nature egg food and blend the two together, it doesn't matter if all of the sweet corn isn't fully broken down. That's fine by me, but as long as the vast majority of it is, and it's mixed with the egg food mix. I think the sweet corn contains quite a lot of protein as well, so it's adding a bit more protein to the soft food mix along with the other ingredients. So that forms the base. So 2 scoops of Deli Nature egg food and half a pint of sweet corn. To that I add one medium-sized carrot. You can see here I think I've got 2 bits here that make up about a medium-sized carrot. I say medium, it's my view of what a medium is, but I grate those. I don't put them in the blender only because my blender doesn't cut them up very well. It needs massive great big chunks, so I tend to grate those and then mix those straight in with the other 2 ingredients. So one medium grated carrot. Once again, they do enjoy carrot, the birds, and if you put a whole carrot in the flight with either the hens or the cocks, you'll find that they just chew at it all the time. So they do enjoy the grated carrot. It also adds some vitamins, additional vitamins to the soft food mix, I suppose. I've read somewhere that the birds can't actually digest the carrot or can't get the goodness out of the carrot unless it's been microwaved. So I think I'm going to start just giving it a quick 10 or 15 seconds in the microwave before I grate it in future. Better safe than sorry, I suppose, but they do enjoy the carrot. So once I've mixed the carrot in with the base mixture, the next thing is I just would call it green vegetables, and it can be any green veg that I've got to hand, whether that be stuff left over from the Sunday dinner, not cooked of course, the uds I suppose, the leftover uds, so of cabbage or Brussels or any of those other greens, or one of the other things that I tend to use is celery, and in this case that's what I'm using here. So I use 1 medium scoop of green mixture, and that's, in terms of celery, I suppose that's about 3 sticks of celery going into that green mix. Both the celery, the carrot and the sweet corn add quite a lot of moisture to the soft food, so they're providing that base moisture for it, and you'll see that as soon as you start mixing it in, the green veg and the carrots in with it, how much more moist it appears to look. So those 3 vegetable ingredients, the sweet corn, carrot and green veg, all add moisture to the soft food. The next 3 ingredients that I'm going to talk about that go into the soft food mix are the supplements. I use 3 different supplements. The first one of those is a calcium powder. Now I used to put calcium in the water, so you can get soluble calcium that you add to the water. Did that for quite a long time. The trouble is, like with most other additives you put into the water, it wastes quite a lot because you're not sure how much they're eating. You change the water every day, so you can never be sure how much they're taking in. So I add it now directly into the soft food. I buy calcium powder. You can buy it online. It's just look for something that contains pure calcium. And I put in 10 millilitres of calcium powder into the soft food and just mix that in. This will begin to dry or take up some of the moisture of the vegetable ingredients. The next one is I use Aviprolite C, which is a probiotic. I think that's how you pronounce it, a probiotic. And it's just a general health additive, I suppose, just to give them a bit of a boost. And I had 5 millilitres of that to the soft food. Once again, this was something I used to put in the water, but as we've already spoken, I'm not totally convinced that adding ingredients to water is the best way, but whatever works for you in your shed, I suppose. And finally, an ingredient that I have started using is Breedmax White. I used to use an Easy Bird breeding additive, but I've heard such great comments about this particular supplement that I've decided to go across to it and see how it's working. So I've been using it now for a few months, and I put into that the recommended dosage that's on the box. And if you want to know, so my soft food that I've got here at the moment, weighs in on average about 600 grams. So I put 20 millilitres of the Breedmax white mixed into that soft food mix. So that's the Breedmax white is supposed to be add fertility and all the rest of that stuff to your birds when they're breeding. I think pigeon fanciers is what it's designed for, but it can be used for any type of bird. So that's Breedmax white that I use. And then finally I add a couple of small scoops of porridge oats, just standard porridge oats. You might want to look at how moist or how dry your soft food is before you add the porridge oats, because it does start to dry out. It will soak up a lot of the moisture. There's not a lot of protein in the porridge oats, and really it's just a booster, I suppose, just something to make the soft mix not too wet, to dry it out just a little bit and make it the right sort of texture that we like it, that I like it to be like, and the birds can pick through it. They do tend to leave the porridge oat bits, I must admit. It's one of the ingredients they tend to avoid or will only eat right at the end. Not sure why that is. So that is my soft food mix. There are lots and lots of different types out there. Some people add a lot more additives than I do. I am currently reviewing my soft food. I think I might have said that before, and looking at what else I might want to add to it based on what some of the other top breeders and other people recommend. So there we are, soft food. So before we finish off, I'm going to quickly talk about quantities of soft food that I'm using. The amount you saw me make up earlier and those measurements that I used will last me probably just over a week. I place it in a sealed container, it then goes in the fridge and it will last perfectly well. There's nothing in there that's going to go sour too quickly if it's kept in the fridge. If you're using things like cod liver oil or other liquidy type substances that go in there, you may find that they do go a little bit rancid, or they might go rancid within that time limit, so do be aware of that. You can get cod liver oil powder if you wanted to add cod liver oil to your soft food. I'm currently thinking about that at the moment, so which won't go rancid. So I use, in my breeding cages where I've got 2 birds, I will use a teaspoonful of this soft food in each of the breeding cages daily. As I said it right at the beginning, if it looks like they're not eating all that, then I will reduce that down a little bit. As chicks hatch, I will increase it a bit. So I've currently got one cage that's got 3 chicks that are, all rung, all beginning to feather up. I will put about 2 to 2.5 teaspoonfuls in the cage per day. So that's the breeding cages. 1 teaspoonful will normally do the 2 birds when they first start off. And that's fed daily, as I said. In the nappy flight, so where the youngsters are, I put about half a teaspoonful per bird in there daily. So, if I've got 8 birds, that's 4 teaspoonfuls of soft food. I think I've worked that out correctly. Let me know if I haven't. And that goes in there. If they're not eating all of that, I will cut it back a little bit. So, and they get it daily as well. So they'll get soft food daily. In the 2 main flights, the hen flight and the cockbird flight, again, I serve about half a teaspoonful per bird, but that's only in there twice a week. So twice a week they will get the soft food. Occasionally I will just chuck greens in there as well, and particularly in the cock flight. And in the hen flight I will sometimes chuck the stem of a cabbage in there. It gives them something to gnaw on as well. So, well, that's it. That's my soft food. And as I said, if there's anything else you'd like me to cover in any of these videos, please do just let me know in the comments and I'll have a look and see if I can do that. So that's it for this video. As always, please do stay safe and enjoy your birds.